I'm going to be playing some country guitar today. I actually had a comment the other week from somebody saying, how dare you be playing country guitar as a Brit? That's outrageous, and I'm not going to watch, and I'm going to unsubscribe from your channel. And I don't really care about that kind of thing, so I'm going to play some country guitar anyway. And what I thought I'd do in this video is put together a little solo over the chords from the classic Gram Parsons track Return of the Grievous Angel. It's a beautiful song, some beautiful chords to play over. On the original recording there's a solo by James Burton, which is a great solo, but rather than do a lesson on that particular solo, I thought I would do my own thing. And as usual with this kind of lesson, you've got a choice. You can learn my solo note for note if you really like it, or you can just steal one or two licks, or perhaps you just want to pay attention to the general concepts that I'm going to be talking about and then do your own thing over this chord progression. So I hope you enjoy the lesson. I'm going to start by playing my solo and then I'll break down what's going on. So that's my solo. I think the original recording was made in 1972 and it came out in 74 as part of the Grievous Angel album, which was actually a posthumous release, and it was made up of various recordings that Gram Parsons made towards the end of his life, a lot of them featuring the Elvis backing band, the TCB band, and also featuring the great Emmylou Harris on vocals. And it's a fantastic album, well worth checking out if you don't already know it. And my approach to putting together this solo was exactly the same as what it would be were I doing a recording session. So imagining I was adding a solo to a pre-recorded backing, I'd come into the studio, listen to the backing track, then I'd make sure I learned the chords really thoroughly, and then I'd just do several takes, so which is exactly what I just did. I did 6 or 7 different takes, and over the course of those takes I just stumbled upon some ideas that I liked, and then I just took a little break and I fine-tuned things a little bit. So it was started off as some improvisations, but by the time I'd done several takes it had formed into more of a composed solo that I was reasonably happy with. Let's talk about the chords then, and we're in the slightly unusual key for country music of B flat, and what I think is going on here is that Gram Parsons played it and probably wrote it with a capo on at the first fret. That's what I did when I was recording the acoustic guitars for the backing track. I just played it in the key of A using kind of cowboy chords but with a capo, and of course if you've got a capo at the first fret, an A chord is going to sound like a B flat. So it happens quite commonly that singer-songwriters will write using their kind of cowboy chords in the open position, but then they will move a capo around till it suits the sound of their voice, and it's something you've got to be prepared for as a lead guitar player. And you've got two choices really. You can either use a capo yourself, or better would just be to have sufficient fretboard knowledge to be able to play fluently in whatever key is required of you in this kind of situation. Let me take you through these chords then. I'm just going to play them in the key of B flat with some bar chord shapes up here, and it's mostly fairly conventional 1-4-5 stuff, but there's a couple of nice secondary dominants snuck in there as well. So it starts off like this. So just 1-4-5 stuff here. I think it's really helpful to think of chord progressions in terms of numbers like this. So we've got 1, 4, 1, 1, 5, 1, and the 1 is obviously B flat. E flat major is the 4 chord, and an F major is the 5 chord. And then the next bit of the progression we've got it starts off in the same way. We've just got 1, 4, back to 1. Then we've got this nice move up to a C7 and then to the F, which is the 5 chord. So this is a secondary dominant. It's the 2 chord, but it's the 5 of the 5 chord, if you like. So it's a nice little songwriting device. And that's pulling back to the 1, and the second half of the chord progression we've got it's really just 1 to 4, but I'm just throwing in a B flat 7 chord in there as well, so that's kind of a secondary dominant as well. It's the 5 of the 4. And then to round off the chord progression, we've just got 1, 5, back to 1 again. So those are the chords. I'd strongly suggest you get really familiar with those chords before you try playing over the chord progression. So you want to kind of memorize that chord progression. I mean, you could just kind of blag it, just play some stuff in the key of B flat. It might sound okay, but it's going to sound far better if you actually know the chords, you know what's coming up, and then you can be a bit more thoughtful about your note choice and really make the notes you choose fit over the chord progression. Let me go through my solo lick by lick then. I suppose my approach here can be summarized as a combination of key center stuff. So I'm using the B flat major scale, the B flat major pentatonic scale, and a bit more of a chord tone approach as well. So some arpeggios, targeting chord tones. Also just got some stock licks in there, some of my kind of go-to country phrases. So I'm kind of mixing all of those things together in my solo. Now the opening lick that I play goes like this. We've got so I'm playing this mostly in the 3rd position, and often in country music I'm thinking about chord shapes, I'm playing out of chord shapes. So in the key of B flat we're in this kind of zone of the neck. It's the G form in caged terms, and I've got a little pickup phrase, just G major scale stuff, and then I've got my opening lick here, so bending at the 5th fret. It's coming from the B flat major pentatonic scale, but I'm bending up into the 3rd of the 1 chord, so thinking about chord tones here. Just coming down the scale there, and just sliding quickly down to the 1st position there. Targeting chord tones, so bending into the 3rd, you've got the root note on top, and then coming down the scale and landing on the root note as well. And then the next phrase is really just more B flat major stuff coming out of that chord shape. So a little kind of soul style double stop here, so 3rd fret on the 4th and 5th strings, slamming down my 3rd finger to the 5th fret on the 5th string. Again, this is a chord tone. This is a D, which is the 3rd of the B flat major chord. So those are the first 2 phrases. Phrasing important here. There's kind of a little gap between the phrases. Little pause, then answering phrase, and then another little pause, and then next I'm playing this. So quite a simple phrase. This is more B flat major pentatonic. Once again hitting that D note, that's a chord tone. And I'm kind of, for the most part, ignoring those quick changes. We've got that quick 4 chord in there, but I'm just kind of hinting at it here. I'm kind of going up to the 3rd of that chord. So again, just hitting those chord tones, and you can think about that in terms of your knowledge of the fretboard, just being able to target those notes. But it's also good just to be able to hear that stuff. It's kind of quite a sort of satisfying sound just to be able to target and land on those chord tones. So you do want to kind of learn what it sounds like to hit the root note, what it sounds like to hit the 3rd. And then the next phrase is this one. So this is played over the kind of 2/5, the C7 to the F, and this is where I really wanted to highlight that nice chord change, that secondary dominant. I wanted to bring that out, so I'm really thinking arpeggios a little bit more on this. So we've got the kind of a C7 arpeggio there. I'm leading into this with this note here, which is the third of the C7, and I'm enclosing that note. It's kind of a jazz device, but it works equally well in country and other styles of music. So that's my target note. I'm going 1 fret above, 1 fret below, and then I'm sliding into that target note. And I'm going up the arpeggio. A bend on the top string. And then I'm outlining that 5 chord there, so bending up to the third again. And this is again just a stock country lick that I'm using all the time. So you've got the root of the chord you're playing over, in this case the F. There's the 7th, bending up to the 3rd, and I've got the 5th on top. So it's a classic country idea. You can get so much mileage just out of that very simple idea, and just varying the rhythm and varying the way you articulate and phrase those notes. The next part of my solo went like this. This is now played over the second half of the chord progression. So I'm now in this zone of the fretboard, and if you like, you can think about the B flat major pentatonic in this position. So, and in caged terms, this is the D form of that particular scale. So it's really just kind of root, second and third of the B flat. I'm coming chromatically down to this note here, this A flat, which is the flat 7. So again, I wanted to highlight the sound of that secondary dominant. So the B going to the B flat 7. And just ending that with just a little bend on the 3rd string. And then I've got this idea. So here we're playing over the E flat chord, and this is really quite a stock phrase, just going from chord tones chromatically down and then again landing on chord tones. So you can think of that as starting in your E flat bar chord shape here, the 3rd and the 5th, coming down here to the root and the 3rd. A very useful little phrase, that one. I'm also varying the rhythm a little bit here. I didn't want the whole solo just to be 8th notes and quarter notes, so I actually got a quarter note triplet in there, which is a nice break from the relentlessness of those quarter notes and 8th notes. So then the next phrase is this one, and this is coming out of the C form of the B flat major pentatonic. It's another one of these double stop bends. In fact, it's exactly the same lick that I played earlier over the F chord here. It's just a variation on that same idea. So B flat, bending the 2nd up to the 3rd with the 5th on top. So then I'm going up a bit higher, a D and an F, hitting the root note of that 5 chord, and then resolving to the root of the 1 chord, and then just to wrap the solo up, just coming down that major pentatonic scale, I'm adding in that bluesy note there, that flat 3rd, and finishing on the root note. So that's the solo. I might just put all of that together at a slowish tempo, just so you can see how all of these licks and phrases fit together. So learn that solo, steal some of those licks, borrow some of those concepts. But I think the most valuable thing that you could do would be to play over those chords yourself. So record yourself playing that chord progression and do it on a looper pedal if you like. Get my backing track and then do some improvisation. Try and get some of these ideas and some of this vocabulary into your own playing. Now, as far as gear goes, I'm just using my standard country guitar setup, which always seems to sound great. I've got my Telecaster. This is a 52 reissue from the mid 1990s, running that through a Fender Princeton. Just one pedal, which is an MXR Dynacomp, and this particular Dynacomp is a 70s reissue of the Script logo pedal. What I'm doing is running the Princeton completely clean, and then I'm hitting it quite hard with the Dynacomp. And one of the great things about the Dynacomp is, as well as obviously compressing the sound, also seems to add just a little bit of overdrive as well. I'm not sure whether that's in the compression circuit or whether it's just the fact that the output of the pedal is quite high, so that's pushing the front end of the Princeton quite hard, but it really does do something quite special to the sound. So let me just demo the sound with and without the Dynacomp. So to start with, just the sound of the Telecaster going straight into the Princeton. Then with the Dynacomp, that's it for this video. I have written my solo out in standard notation and tablature. I've made a backing track, and if you'd like to get your hands on either of those things, you can do so on my Patreon page for a very reasonable price. Thanks very much for watching. I will see you next time.